that medical degree and that residency that you've done, just burn it.
I
Listen
sent
to
you.
the guy on the internet.
I
Listen
sent
to
you
the
the
guy on the
doc, bro.
internet.
I
He knows
sent
what
you
he's
the
talking
doc. I
about.
sent you that doc.
Listen
Remember?
to this guy with his
Well,
like.
I'll say this. I'll say this as more of a general thing. I think I honestly I believe that there is. I used to be much more skeptical about a lot of more like herbal medicine and non-traditional Eastern medicine. But I honestly think there is a role for it, like to kind of bridge Eastern and Western medicine. But I think the problem is people make too strong of claims. Like something may help, but they'd make way too strong of a claim about it, and then
I
you
mean,
just
what do you
it,
think from? Give an example, because I'm kind of curious. Like, what from like the? Is it the homeopathic?
like
Is that what it's called?
yeah. Like I don't know, like what's it like? I don't know, like a cayenne pepper or what's that stuff called that people take for inflammation?
Turmeric.
Cayenne, turmeric, right?
Turmeric
Like,
works.
like yeah,
Turmeric,
like
okay, it works for sure.
no, but
Because
that's
I
what I'm
took.
saying. It works. It works. But people make very, very, very strong claims about it, where like they would literally like stop seeing, they would have like some type of autoimmune um
Yeah, that's just
disease
dumb.
or something, and they would just stop taking their medications because they want to treat it with turmeric.
Right,
So
right.
like there's
Because like
always a
turmeric is
fine
like
line.
there's still like a biological basis like for why
Yeah,
turmeric works, and like they would
yeah,
like in the pharmaceutical industry that they would take an extract of that and then put it in a pill and then do a bunch of
yeah.
studies and then market it the same way that like fucking hippie guy with long dreads would say like, hey, this is gonna like cure your gout or some shit, right? It's just more
Yeah, I
steps.
mean,
It's just more steps in like the medical route.
yeah, it's more steps, but it's also more regulated, right? And there's also more data for, not to say that it works better, but there's just more data, right? Like how many great trials do you have of randomized trials using herbs? It's very, very little. And it doesn't mean they don't work. We just don't know. And you got to remember who's funding these trials, who's designing these trials, right? So like, unless you have like a market for a company to or the government to profit off something, either to reduce by preventing disease or selling by, creating a drug that treats or cures a disease, you're not really going to get people investing to design and run these trials because they take an enormous amount of resources and money, right? So I think there are a lot of herbal medicines that probably have great value we just don't know about. And some of these things we just can't prove. And I think the
Right. So
biggest
there's a gap in the industry because the medical regulated industry is profit driven, and if something's profit driven, it doesn't necessarily mean that public health in general is number one priority. And so like these like homeopathic sort of solutions can kind of fill an existing gap.
Yeah, I think they can fill an existing gap. It just needs to be regulated more, and you also have to, ensure that you have authorities that aren't making too strong of claims, and it's still evidence driven. I'll use an example, and I think we're gonna start seeing a lot of this with psychedelics. Look at what's happening with psychedelics right now. 10, 15 years ago, nobody was talking about this. Right now, it's one of the hottest things in psychiatry, right? And for better or worse, the fact that now it's a $1 billion industry, and you have all of these corporate companies dumping an enormous amount of money running these trials and all of this. It's a double-edged sword, right? Because yes, it's going to lead to more discoveries, and it's going to lead to the widespread use and giving patients different types of treatments. But at the same time, they're kind of capitalizing on that, and they're kind of gaming it and making it all about the money. Right now, it's like a competition to find, between different corporations to develop the best type of, psilocybin or whatever it is, LSD. So it's like a double-edged sword, right? Whenever you get the corporations and industries involved. And I think you're seeing that now with psychedelics. I think that's a good example. But yeah, if you guys look into some of that literature, like there's people, using psilocybin to cure depression, randomized trials shows that it works, cure alcoholism. It's really like crazy the results you're seeing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
these guys, It's just it's and but then you have your people that like just don't want to believe it too. Like, there's enormous resistance from the psych community too, right?
So let me
Because
ask you something real quick
yeah,
before. So like for okay, so for example, and this is just how I understand stuff, right? So like you're depressed because it's not you, but somebody in general, they would be depressed because their brain doesn't make enough of a happy chemical, right? Dopamine,
hmm.
whatever. I don't know what it is
I mean
called.
it's
So
a simplistic way to put it, but yeah,
yeah. So I know, but I'm doing it just because like this is how I'm
yeah,
trying to understand. So and then
yeah,
so if I take a psilocybin, let's say habitually for 6 months, will my happy chemicals then come in line with a normal non-depressed person, or is it
yeah.
just like, or is it like does
It's
it
not
like
like
alter my brain chemistry?
yeah, it's not like an absolute thing, right? It's not like an absolute thing where like you need a certain number of chemicals in order to feel happy, and if you have a deficiency, you're not happy, right? If you go look at like SSRIs don't really increase your serotonin, right? They really don't.